Everything's unclear.
I'm strung out, lost inside my head, chasing ghosts of the living dead. Can't tell what's real from what's not in this hell that I have brought. Panic drives me running to the street, plane above writes my name in smoky green heater. Dead faces flicker in the glass. Heart pounds like this moment is my last stop. 911, I'm dying, can't you see? These demons in my chest are killing me. I'm strung out, lost inside my head, chasing ghosts of the living dead. Can't tell what's real from what's not in this hell that I have brought.
Ambulance right through the pouring rain. Droplets turn to demons on the pane. They peel themselves right off the glass. Crawl into my skin as we race past. Laser shooting from the city lights. Cut through me like knives in the night. Your window shows them laughing loud. Hologram people are waiting crowd.
Doctor, please don't leave me here alone.
Just sleep it off in a skeleton. A month goes by, I'm clean and clear, and the cycle starts year after year. The same old dance, the same old pain on
cavern. How long till that storm clears?
Looks like this one could linger over us for a while.
Well, at least I have a nice view and something to drink.
Hey, say some for the rest of us?
No promises.
Outriders. Access granted.
I wish I was sharing a bottle with you, Jakob.
I forgot how much I like this build. I actually made it better though, because I remember my last version of it, like years ago. I think I had whatever it's called, the knife mod that increases the damage sharpening. That's it, instead of self-medication, and that was a big mistake in my view because it's entirely unneeded. Obviously, because I rarely take damage to my shield anyway from anything. Also, because of that, self-medication boosts my shield and shield regen, so that means that leech healing is even less useful because of that. So, which is the only reason for sharpening. It's not like I was there to help me kill things faster, because most of the killing is from the Temporal blade and like aggressive teleportation. You'll see it's like a combination of mods. Venator's knife contributes, but not that much. It's like not that much on its own. It's really just to activate the anomaly buff, as well as the debuff. Because a lot of the damage you'll see now, you have to also factor in. It doesn't tell you that all that damage is potentially getting boosted by the debuff from Venator's knife, which is the big thing it does. So, and then the boomerang mod is the only mod I need on it, because that activates the debuff a second time on enemies, increasing the chance of, getting that bonus damage on any enemy that gets hit by something big, like a temporal blade, a moaning winds, something like that. So yeah, I just realized I didn't really need it. Self-medication is infinitely better and makes sense for a tank build again, because that just makes my shield regen even more. Also, I don't even need it for the healing, because if you see the damage on the knife, Venator's knife, I don't need any mods to still do a decent amount of damage on it, thanks to just having a ton of anomaly power, which in turn means that it still heals me a lot off my skill leech stat. So I've tested it too. It's like, yeah, it still heals me a lot, especially because it hits multiple enemies multiple times. So that also means that if my shield is breached in combat, Venator's knife alone, if there's groups of enemies, is going to be more than enough to keep me healed. But I also want to comment on that, because why do I, like, my pistols actually are this is like the only trickster build where my pistols, that I use the same ones in all my trickster builds, in case they ever really need to use it. But this is the guy who actually does need to use it, but only when specifically fighting the arbiters, because this guy, if you haven't noticed, it's probably my weakest one for killing elites quickly, like lone bosses quickly. It's like the worst at that. And for arbiters, he will have to endure the axe phase. Not always solo, because he still kills. He actually still kills. I have to go test it again, but I want to say he still can kill the final arbiter. Maybe close to like a minute 15, minute 20 seconds. And if you're just in melee range the whole time, so he's just whacking you constantly, you can actually go through a fight like that without him activating the X phase. But a lot of times he still will, though, so you still have to be prepared for it. And especially if you're carrying on like teams. Although, honestly, the best thing you can do is just switch your build to something else. Switch to the Twisted Rounds trickster build the moment you get to the arbiters, basically, and then you're good to go. But obviously, this is for people who this is like their first build that they're designing, or want to do their first build. Now, I also just like to make sure that every build I ever make, it is able to conquer the whole game. Like, I always want to make sure that it is able to defeat. It may not be as good at other builds at defeating some things, but it is able on its own, both solo and carrying, to defeat everything in the game. That's what I always want to make sure every build I make is capable of doing. And this guy's definitely capable of doing that. Capable of carrying on the arbiter. It'll be a long fight, but he can still easily out-tank it thanks to both the shield regen spamming and the healing spamming when you use the pistols. Because when you use the pistols, weapon leech, all damage over time mods in this game activate weapon leech healing. So Sandstorm, for instance, actually heals you based off your weapon leech stat. And then Boulderlings is just the best for healing for pistols, because it has the best attributes with the best mod. It's like, it gives you till death do you part, and that doubly heals you. It heals you because the mod itself heals you, and then it does a damage over time effect, which also heals you. Then you slap on Firestorm, that triply heals you because it's damage over time, so that heals off your weapon leech. It is, I'm just being stupid. No, it doubly heals you. I guess I was assuming it had the same effect as, in my mind, I think I was still on the high of the previous mod. But yeah, it only doubles heals you too, but it's still like the best because it's such a long duration mod that leaves behind a burn too, so that it pretty much is always guaranteed healing you a good amount no matter what. So yeah, Firestorm heals you based off the weapon leech and also the skill leech because it activates fire. And then I have a lot of anomaly power on this guy, which helps the fire heal me more. It's also why the last things I'm going to get on his armor specifically is I want to get max health, status power, and skill leech on his leg armor UC2 with the same mods eventually. That'll give him another skill leech buff and another status power buff. So he'll have 3 status power buffs to further boost burn damage and therefore burn healing. Especially with my max health increasing the threshold for the healing, and then a super high skill leech stat and a super high anomaly power stat. So yeah, this is like one of my few tricksters where it's like actually he can heal his health bar quite a lot very fast, thanks to going for all those stats for Edge of Time, just giving you a bunch of skill leech because of the set itself doing it, and then using the bottom tree, getting more skill leech, getting anomaly power up to capitalize on that skill leech, then increasing my health to increase the threshold of the skill leech, and then using boulderlings with like 3 damage over time mods, all 3 of them healing me, and then activating burn to heal me from the anomaly power. And of course, for what it's worth, Temporal Blade doesn't heal you that much, but it does heal you some. And then of course Venator's Knife. If I'm ever caught where I'm not using my pistol, which like I'm not really worried about that. Like the Arbiter is the only fight in the game where I think my shield ever breaks consistently during the axe phase specifically, because it's broken and it doesn't check your health or your armor or your resistance. Like it doesn't care if you're a tank basically. So the only thing that matters for tanking is healing. And shield regen counts for that too, because it also counts against like getting hit from the axes. I've noticed will do the same percentage to your health bar and also your shield bar, but that means if you have shield is the only thing that actually kind of effectively acts as having extra health in the Arbiter fight, since it actually still has to go through shields as well as health, rather than just ignoring shields entirely. So that does help some. Now, final thing, like my PAX tree, why am I in both? So I tried going the full top, and Spectral Spike is not worth it at all because I only use Temporal Blade. It's a slow skill. It's not going to get the consecutive boosts like Twisted Rounds or Cyclone Slice. Those are the only 2 skills to use for that skill node. Finally, Meticulous Schemer. Well, I tried Meticulous Schemer. It wasn't too bad. I kind of had the exact same clear time, but that just proved to me it was pointless to use it, because it like gave me a slight extra AoE occasionally, but it's so inconsistent because I'm only using Venator's Knife. Venator's Knife alone is just not the best skill to activate Meticulous Schemer. Like, I use that on my Trickster who uses all 3, I think, or no, he uses Venator's Knife, but then he has multiple mods for it, so it hits even more dudes, and then he has Slow Trap. Slow Trap being way better with the range buff on it. So it makes sense for that Trickster to use Meticulous Schemer, but this guy, he's the only Trickster build I have out of like the 4 main ones I have now, and probably others I've tried in the past, but I have 4 main ones. This is now one of them, and he's the only one where I go into both trees, because I go into the top tree to get that little extra damage. That little extra damage also helps his single target damage against bosses a little better than what going all in on Meticulous Schemer would give me. That's another reason I do it. Also, phasing gives me even more shield regen, but specifically it gives me allied shield regen. And since I spam all 3 of my skills, and all 3 of my skills have low cooldowns on them too, that lets this guy effectively be a decent team support too, because I give my teammates just a crazy amount of shield for what someone can give a teammate in a fight. But then I go summon the bottom tree to get Trigger Man, because Trigger Man is just good raw extra damage. Like it's just 15% more damage based on how many skills are on cooldown, which because I'm spamming them so much, you see a lot of the times they're on cooldown, but also because they don't have a crazy small cooldown. So a lot of times I'll still have the full buff from that. So I figure getting Trigger Man, which I've tested and it really is, it's better damage than going for Spectral Spike. But then that also lets me get I forgot what it's called, but it's the next second skill node that makes Deception Skills, gives you an active shield regen for 4 seconds. So every time I use Venator's Knife, because of phasing, it gives me shield. And then because of that skill node, it gives me a 4-second shield regen, which is pretty much the whole cooldown for Venator's Knife. So it's always giving me shield regen. Then Borrowed Time gives me a crazy amount of shield regen. And then, of course, even Temporal Blade, because of phasing, still gives me a little, it's the least amount, but it still gives me a little bit of shield too. So all of that still lets me stack a crazy high shield regen on a crazy high health build, thanks to going some in the middle tree, as well as using self-medication, using damage absorber with whatever it's called. I only use that mod. It's the mod on my boots where every time you use Temporal Blade, it gives you bonus armor. It's only because it's the only useful mod on my boots I decided to use, because I wanted to use the boots and the gloves because I'm going for max health on this build, because it's a tank version of it. So I knew I wanted to use that, and that's like the only useful mod for a build like this. So I go ahead and went with it. So it's like, okay, I get even more armor too in combat. So I get a ton of armor, I get a ton of resistance, I get a ton of health, ton of shield regen, good amount of skill leech off Venator's Knife, and then when I really need it, I switch to my pistols, and then on top of all of that still being the case, I also get sky-high max health healing on top of my shield regen when I switch to my pistols, just for the arbiters. And that's how he's able to still trivialize them, even though I have to deal with the axe phase. It's a pretty long fight, but it is what it is. I really just enjoy this build. It's not the most practical build, I know, for even Temporal Blade, but I knew it's like I really wanted to make, as usual, a super tank build and enjoy using Temporal Blade. You can't combine it with Cyclone Slice, unfortunately, though. You have to pick one or the other, because Cyclone Slice demands you go all in on it, and then it's your only skill you use, because it lasts forever. The whole point of it is to make sure you're constantly doing it, which means your 2 other skills become next to useless with Cyclone Slice build. It's also why I didn't really like Cyclone Slice. It's a really fun meme build, I'll give it to you, and it's better at killing the Arbiter than this guy definitely is, for sure. But I couldn't get down with it, because it's like, it just forces you too much to only rely on Cyclone Slice, which just, in my view, is fun in the beginning to spin around, but then gets boring because I want to change up what I'm doing. Like that helps keep me engaged in the fights, is that I'm doing other stuff besides just one thing. That's why I couldn't do the Cyclone Slice build for Edge of Time. It was just like, I'm only spinning around like a top the entire time. It's fun to watch someone else do it, but I don't have fun doing that. Anyway, that's the build. Like I said, it's pretty much done. The only thing to get now is to get that last status power and skill leech buff on my leg armor. That's kind of it. It's been done for a while. I just changed the mod I mentioned to self-medication because I realized I don't need sharpening. Sharpening sucks for this kind of build. It doesn't add anything to it. So just get self-medication. Gives me even more tankiness, even more assurance that my shield never gets breached. So, and then it lets me be like, this is probably one of the tankiest tricksters just because of everything he's stacking. He's just great at, in terms of tankiness, he's got everything like almost maxed out. Like armor, resistance, health, shield regen, and even skill leech healing, and even some weapon leech healing when you switch to pistols. Like, there's no reason to ever go down to anything. One last thing, you may also wonder, why don't I go for my final mod? I mentioned that I was trying to struggle to figure out what I want it to be. Why don't go no resistance against the fortified? Slap armor piercing on my gun. I get another armor piercing buff through my my bottom tree, so that would in turn give me another huge chunk of resistance piercing and chunk of anomaly power because of it. Well, the reason is, I think I tried that in the past, and also just because I realized it didn't really help much for clear times against anything, practically. Because, like, you have to also remember, Temporal Blade is the only thing that is being boosted by Anomaly Power. The other two, Vendor's Knife, it gets boosted, but it does so little damage on its own, it's not going to contribute much. It's just there for the debuff constantly, and then the healing whenever I need it. And because it looks cool, frankly. And activates shield regen a bunch constantly, too, with the cooldown on it. So that's its main purpose. And then same thing for Borrowed Time. Its main purpose is even more the shield regen, and then the aggressive teleportation spamming that's not based off your anomaly power. So it's only Temporal Blade, and the thing is, between Edge of Time and all the anomaly power I already stack on it, it already does really high damage for what Temporal Blade can do, and I'm like, I tried it, and it's like, well, I mean, more anomaly power is only going to boost that part of my build, which is the big part. You saw it was the highest damage I do. The highest damage on my stat is still Temporal Blade. But if you combine all the other stuff, they, in turn, do actually even more than Temporal Blade, and I'm like, and none of that other stuff, the mods on my guns, aggressive teleportation, Venator's Knife, like, nothing else will get boosted by it. So I just figured, it ain't worth it. I'd rather just get self-medication because, without self-medication, my health bar is only decent because obviously I have to go more in the bottom tree. Self-medication lets me, especially because I spam my skills so much, so it's just perfect for it, I keep either the maximum or the second to maximum buff from self-medication in entire fights, which just lets me go from my health all the way almost like I'm using the middle tree too, because it goes to like 750-ish thousand for the second boost, and then over 800,000 for the third boost. And 750-ish thousand health for the second boost, that's always active, at least is always active throughout any fight. That is like having the full middle tree of max health nodes, so it really is a lot of extra health, which, again, like I said, in turn, is a lot of extra shield, and then a lot of extra shield regen. Giving that up just to get another anomaly power buff that only affects Temporal Blade, though, at this point, would just not be worth it to me.